Hello, hello. I'm Joanna Turner, spiritual business mentor for female entrepreneurs. And I want to jump in today actually I didn't. But I felt like I needed to because what's been coming up over the last 24 hours that I've noticed with my clients, and it feels very palpable. It feels very important right now. And when I see themes happening with my clients, especially in a concentrated period, I just know that it feels important and it's happening in the collective. So what's been going on, like I said in the comment, is we're needing to talk about the witch wound, coming out spiritually and claiming our spiritual gifts. So this feels very, very important right now. So it started with a client about 24 hours, maybe 36 hours ago now. And one of the things that came up while I was reading her Akashic records was that that her psychic abilities were coming through really strongly right now. And she needed to go and take a course or a program within that realm, whether it was Reiki or meditation, but something that called to her that she could really start to harness her psychic abilities. And she was like, no, not interested. I avoid that stuff, not at all, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, that's totally cool. Like only if it feels good, only if it feels right. Now, I fully believe that everything that comes through in the Akashic records comes through at exactly the right time for you, right? Like they don't give you more information than you can cope with. They don't tell you things that you can't deal with. So I really believe it always comes through at the right time. Now, towards the end of our conversation, she was like, well, I mean, I have been going to get Reiki for the last couple of weeks. And I was like, oh, interesting. How are you finding that? She's like, oh, it's really good, but my partner doesn't really agree with it. He's come from quite a religious background. He thinks it's all really dark and really bad. And so I'm kind of just hiding it. So she was hiding it from her partner and just really resisting it, which is totally cool. The next morning, however, she messaged me and she's like, okay, I've woken up. I'm super curious. Tell me more about all this stuff. So just overnight, whatever we had cleared within her session, she was actually ready to start exploring and ready to start getting into it. So what I'm seeing a lot is, and then so then I had 3 ladies the next day again for Akashic Records reading. The first one wasn't speaking her truth, wasn't coming out as being spiritual because she thought it would actually put clients off. She thought that people wouldn't actually come to her if she actually told them all of the things that she was into and what she was doing. But in reality, she wasn't attracting anybody. So we were working through that and I was like, what if you speaking your truth is going to allow them to speak their truth? So that was coming through really strongly with her. Then the next lady, terrified of her woo as well, was not putting it anywhere in her business. And she's like, well, she's a business coach. And she's like, well, I've been reading tarot since I was 15. And I'm like, and this is nowhere in your marketing. It's nowhere in your business. Nobody knows. It's this like secret thing that she keeps to herself. And she's like, well, I have a secret bookshelf with all of my spiritual stuff that nobody can see. So she'd even hidden her spiritual bookshelf. So she's into all this stuff, has a gift, and is completely hiding it, even though her husband actually, I think, sneakily thinks it's kind of cool. Her kids are interested in it. Like she hasn't actually had any signs in this lifetime that it's actually unsafe to talk about it and to work with it, but she's suppressed it. Then who was my next lady? Then my next lady, again, really, and she's in my Akashic Records program, really suppressed her gifts. And she was asking me like, what's my soul purpose? Why am I here? I tried this, it didn't work. I tried this, it didn't work. I tried this, it didn't work. And she was really frustrated because she was like, I feel like there's something, but I don't know what it is. And often your soul purpose won't come through until you've taken layers and layers off the onion. So they often don't give you your soul purpose until you're actually ready to do something about it, and you're not going to sabotage the shit out of this purpose that they give you. So often there are layers and layers of healing to do before you get your soul purpose. And so towards after we'd done a ton of healing within our session, at the end I was like, your sole purpose is this. It's reading the Akashic Records. It's doing this work. It's bringing your psychic abilities through. I said, you're actually incredibly powerful. We just couldn't see it behind all of this fear and all of this stuff that you've been hiding behind. And she, by the end of the call, felt really strong. She's like, I know I'm supposed to help people with this. So it's no accident that she's in my Akashic Records course, right? Learning to open them up for herself, learning to deepen her intuition, her connection to spirit, and really bring that side out of her. So all of these women are in that course, and it's not a surprise that they're all enrolled in that program, because they're feeling this need and this urge to want to deepen their spiritual practice. But so last night I brought it up on our training call, and so many of the women were really feeling that energy, like not wanting to even tell their husbands how spiritual they are, not wanting to tell their clients, even if they're spiritual coaches, they're not coming out of the closet. And then I had a good friend of mine who's an intuitive coach. She messaged me going, I'm feeling the need to come out that I've had past lives. I don't think I'm from this planet. What kind of support do you have? And I'm like, okay. It's safe to come out. It's okay. So I truly believe that, and this is, again, take what you need from this, leave what doesn't resonate. You don't have to believe in this stuff to get benefits from this work, right? But I was just saying last night on the call, it makes your life so much easier when you have something to lean into, when you have a faith in a higher power. It means you don't have to control so hard and hang on to everything and push so much, right? If you have that faith in something bigger or a connection to spirit, you can lean into it more, and it's really beautiful. But often the problem with this, with coming out and using your spiritual gifts, that often there's been a deep suppression within a past life, and a very good reason. Oh, hey, Relika Love, nice to have you on. Often there's a deep suppression coming through from a past life, or even earlier in this lifetime, that stops us from coming out or feeling safe to come out, speak about this, use our gifts and talents. So I was asking these women, I was like, does it sometimes feel like when you go to post on social media that you are literally going to die, especially if you're talking about anything woo, spiritual, or anything like that? So this visibility piece for people discovering and reconnecting with their spiritual gifts. You could jump in, love. There's all the recordings are there. So the last call is going to be live, but if you wanted, we've just had it, so you'd have a week to binge on all of our calls so far. There's about 7 hours worth of calls. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So they're finding it really, really hard to be on social media and to talk about this stuff. And a lot of coaches, you'll find, are like, just fucking do it, just post, why wouldn't you? You're lazy, or you're wrong, or whatever that thing is, right? Or they make themselves that, right? You tell yourself, well, if I wanted it more, I'd post on Facebook, or I'd tell people that I have this stuff, right? Even in network marketing, I also do doTERRA, right? So even posting about using essential oils can feel terrifying sometimes, right? So whatever that thing is for you, it might feel like you're going to die. And when the first few times I did any posting about this stuff, I'd literally be like, I'm going to die. I'd close my eyes and I'd hit post anyway. And I'd sort of open my eyes and be like, oh my God, I didn't die. What the, like, oh, okay, I didn't die. Great. So but my physicality, my whole body felt like that was the fear gripping me, and my clients are feeling it too. So, but the thing is, I feel like we're all here at this time because we're supposed to be claiming our spiritual gifts at this time. We're supposed to be helping people. We're supposed to be helping awaken this next like group of people that are starting to awaken, right? You're already on that path. You're already maybe going to other people to get the benefit of their healing and their energy work. But when it comes to you and opening up your stuff and talking about it, that's a whole different ballgame, right? So I want to tell you a quick story. So back in 2010, I was in Thailand and I was there detoxing, trying to figure out, get my health back on track. I'd been partying hard, working hard, and I was just really a bit of a burnt out mess. So I was in Thailand, detoxing hard, didn't eat for 10 days, on the green juice, tons of colonics, all those kind of things. And it was really my first introduction into personal development. And while I was there, I was introduced to this guy. He's a clairvoyant and he does releasing and past life work. And I had no idea what I was signing up for, to be honest, but I was like, if it's going to help me figure out my health and my weight problems, I'm willing to try anything. And back in 2010, I didn't know another person on the planet who'd ever had a past life reading. I didn't know if I even believed in them myself. I was pretty skeptical. I was still an accountant at that point. But I was curious but skeptical. And so we go into this past life. And again, I'm like, is this real? What is this? And the past life that was very present for me was being a witch. And I was being burned at the stake for using my spiritual gifts. And in that lifetime, my current dad was my little boy. And he was so distraught and so hurt by me obviously being killed, right? That I made a vow that I would never use my spiritual gifts again because it caused people hurt. And obviously there's the whole dying thing too, right? So I made this vow and I had shut that down pretty hard. And I'd had another past life where I was a Native American Indian man and I couldn't save my tribe. And so again, I'd lost, in that lifetime, my pregnant wife and my son were killed, and the whole tribe was killed. And so I couldn't, one, save my tribe. I couldn't protect them, even with all of my spiritual connection, and I couldn't, it wasn't enough to protect the people I loved. So I made a vow I would never have another tribe. I made a vow I would never use my spiritual gifts. I made a vow I would never love like that again. I made a vow I'd never have children, right? So we can make very strong vows within our past lives if they've caused harm, that we don't use those gifts again. So I'd shut mine down pretty hard in those lifetimes. And there are many, many other lifetimes of being priestess and an oracle and all these other things. But there are two that have been very front and center with the closing down of my spiritual gifts. Now, when I did that in 2010, I told nobody because I was questioning it myself, right? I'm like, am I making this up? Like, how could this even have happened? And so he had, in that session, I'm chanting, I release my spiritual gifts, I release my spiritual gifts. And I'm lying there thinking, mate, I'm an accountant. I don't really know what the connection is with all of this. But interestingly, since that initial releasing and healing of that past life, my spiritual gifts opened up and I'm now, teaching this work and deep into this work, and I channel through the Akashic records. And so I'm really feeling deeply now connected to my spiritual work and going back and really rediscovering my passion and what I connect to. And it's been a really beautiful part of my life. And it feels very true and it feels real. And that's that part that so many of us are denying, but with good reason, because we think we're going to die. Now, so I obviously kept that very quiet. Nobody in my accounting world would really understand. It wasn't important to share. Nobody needed to know. But then recently, I'd been noticing more and more people starting to talk about it. I read the amazing book Witch by Lisa Lister, loved it, and a bunch of other stuff, right? And I'm really connecting with this deep energy. So doing this and exploring more past lives. And then let me just check the time because, 1:45, because I've got, I'm going for a colonic in 15 minutes. Anyway, enough information, but lots of releasing happening over here. So then it starts becoming more and more prevalent. And I hosted a 3-day live event last year in San Diego with about, 90, 100 women. And I wasn't even going to mention it. I wasn't planning on talking about it, but the witch wound stuff came up. And I just said, out of interest, how many people in this room feel like they were a witch in a past life and it's affecting them in this lifetime? And 98% of the women put their hands up. Because I know 2 women left the event because it did not jive with their religious beliefs, and that's fine. And I'm not here to convince anybody that it's a thing, but if it resonates deeply with you and you feel it and it's affecting you in this lifetime and perhaps you're sabotaging your business because of it, I want to bring up this topic because I think it's really important. So I'm seeing these 100 women in this room, all with their hand up, thinking they've been a witch in a past life. And then there's other people, and it keeps, and I'm thinking, okay, how could there possibly have been this many of us? Like, am I therefore imagining it and making it up because I've read in some book somewhere? So I'm thinking, I've heard of Salem, the witch trials. I'm thinking maybe there were like 10, 15 people like at that thing. So how are all of these women in that room feeling connected to that energy? And so I went to do more and more research, and I discovered that this was actually a problem for hundreds of years, like 600 years, this one was an issue, across, not just in North America, for instance, you might have heard of Salem, but through the whole of Europe, North America, other places across the world, and hundreds of thousands of women were persecuted for being a witch. And there was so much fear, and I've watched documentaries on this stuff and read books. And in one church in Aberdeen in Scotland, recently in the last few years, they found a mass grave. It was either 800 or 900 bodies in it. And that's been found in the last few years. So that was one church in the north of Scotland. One church, 800 or 900 bodies, right? So this issue, I suddenly realized, and I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about this issue is way, way bigger than we have any idea. And it is one of the biggest sort of, I don't know if you can call it genocide when it's across cultures, but it's, I don't know what the word would be for that, but mass killing of a group of society that has never been talked about publicly, mainly because of the mass fear that is still in our collective bodies, right? Is this resonating? Let me know. So this is like this huge issue, and it's not just been like you know, black cat cauldron type people that were called witches. It was any basically smart women or woman that used her intuition, right? So imagine not being allowed. So why have we all suppressed our intuition, right? Because it's not been safe to be seen as somebody who uses our intuition, right? The patriarchy has had this crazy hold and rule over us. No wonder we've all been forced into using our masculine and our brain, right? So sad, right, Claudia? Fascinating, right? This stuff, I'm like, boom, blows my mind. So it's super prevalent. And if you feel that, I believe we have been all incarnated at the same time in now, because it is now technically for most of us, not for some women in some countries, but for most of us in the Western world, it is now safe to use our intuition. It is safe to talk about this. And it is very important for us to do so, because I believe that we are being called, and I believe that we are here to help the rest of the planet that is waking up imminently. So there has been, absolutely, Claudia, there's been an absolute feeling of lack of safety around the work, right? And therefore we, yes, right, Laura? So we question ourselves, we question our intuition, we doubt it, right? We get these downloads and we're like, no, I can't trust that. And so it's not just been, so I've had clients clear this through over the last few years. So it's come up over and over again. It explains my own fear around offering intuitive service. 100%, right? So it's not felt safe. So my clients have been, one was a midwife, and one of the babies that she helped birth died of a lung, but she was like, no, it was their lungs. It was a lung issue. She said, I had nothing to do with it, but I was drowned, right? So she was a midwife, right? So even that wasn't safe. I've had just countless other clients drowned, stoned. Somebody yesterday was telling me they'd had their face smashed into a wall, hung. All these horrible, horrible things happen to women for being intuitive, using their gifts or any herbal medicine. I really connect. I love Outlander. I really connect with Claire because she is that medicine woman, and people would go to them, but it wasn't always safe for them to be that. If you've not watched Outlander, I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful way. It resonates with everything in my body, and it's Scottish, and so it really gives me the goosebumps. The whole thing gives me goosebumps. So this has been a real thing over years and years and years. And we're here now to heal this. And one of the things that the witch wound has unfortunately added to is the sisterhood wound. And the sisterhood wound has happened because, these men would come through town looking for the witches. And I would be at home with my family, with my intuitive witchy ways and gifts. I'd be wanting to obviously protect my family, but Sarah down the road, it's better for me if I turn her in to just protect me and my family, right? So there came this deep mistrust between women, not because they were ended up handing each other in and not supporting each other within this, because again it wasn't safe. So within community and within women, sometimes it might feel difficult for you to have female friends. You might feel like they're going to stab you in the back, and you might actually get on better with men because you trust them more. And it's interesting when a woman is acting from her masculine, and that's masculine energies. We all have both female and male energies within us. Everybody does. Men, women, doesn't. It's not gender specific. It's not any of those things. But when a woman operates from her masculine, the one masculine trait that she does not get is honor. So that men, when they're in their masculine, they have a deep sense of honor and integrity with their other men, right? That they've maybe had to create through being in battles together, right? So they have this code of honor. But as women, when we flip into our masculine energies to stay safe, we don't get the honor, and so that is where the backstabbing and the lack of trust comes from. Right? It's crazy, this stuff, Claudia. When I started to get into all this, it blew me away, and it's terrifying and scary. But the good news is that we can heal this. We can do the work around it, whether that's within your Akashic records, going into past lives, past life regressions, releasing the energies, whatever you do to work through this stuff. Sometimes having it revealed is just super powerful. Just knowing that it's there and knowing why it's there and why you might not be able to trust people or feel like you can't trust them. So a lot of the work I do is about healing all of this, helping people understand it, helping them understand themselves more. And I just felt like it needed to be voiced today because it's been so heavy in with all of my clients and in the field at this time within these last few days. So it feels like it's coming up. If you are refusing to, come out of the spiritual closet because you're worried about what family might think, what your partner might think, maybe it's time to have some conversations with yourself or them. I had to come out to my parents as being spiritual, and they had a little bit of a tough time with it. But they've come around because, they have no choice. Yes, you're so welcome. I'm so glad you joined us, beautiful lady. So yeah, share this if it feels resonant, if you feel like you have other women that might be experiencing something similar. It's potent. It's really potent at this time. And I'll be doing some work around this. I've got a mastermind coming up for the end of the year. And we're going to be diving into this stuff and really working together and allowing it to come into your business, because I don't think businesses, especially female entrepreneurs who have a spiritual side, I don't think your business will survive if you're trying to suppress it. unfortunately. But we're going to be doing a lot of really cool work in the mastermind around all this. So let me know if you've got any questions, if you want to know more information about that. I've got to run because I do have this appointment on the hour, but yeah, if you have any questions about anything I've shared, anything to add, like just let me know. I'm super curious to know who all is feeling the effect of this, especially over these last few days. So share away, and hopefully I will speak to you again soon. Take care.